Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Launceston Cup celebrations have been soured with the passing of a champion horse in the day's penultimate race. There are tributes from across the racing community for the inevitable, euthanised last night after breaking down in what was meant to be a home send-off. The death fuelling further criticism of the sport.
One last ride on home soil cut tragically short.
And sadly, the inevitable may have run his last race. He's broken down.
The champion suffering catastrophic injuries in the Hellever Street Stakes. The start meant to be his last before heading to another All-Star Mile.
You could just feel the air taken out of the balloon. To not see him on the big stage competing with all the mainland horses is really, really sad.
The 9-year-old's death sending shockwaves through the community.
The inevitable too, that's heartbreaking sort of stuff, so, condolences to everyone.
He's going to be hard to replace. I don't know if we ever can replace him, and I don't want to replace him.
With 18 wins from 44 starts, Horse of the Year in 2023 and over $2 million in prize money, he quickly became a fan favourite.
He's like any other Tasmanian sports person, Boone, Ponting, the footballers. His never die attitude. He always wanted to win, and you didn't think that he was going to win some races, and all of a sudden he bobbed up and won.
This latest death again raising questions over animal welfare.
It takes a toll on those beautiful animals that are exploited for profit, whether it's greyhound racing or horse racing.
Sadly, it's just part of life, and I understand their opinion and they're entitled to it.
While the racing community is still coming to terms with the loss of the inevitable, there's already talks about immortalising his lasting legacy.
We should honour him somehow down the track in having a race named after him.
Victoria Risto, 7 Tasmania News.
Ukrainian refugees might be the first to secure a spot on the brand new Spirit of Tasmania 4 vessel while it's berthed in Scotland. That's if online speculation is to be believed, claiming the Tasmanian and Scottish governments are negotiating a deal, and the Premier isn't stopping short of ruling it out.
I'm not going to preempt negotiations. Negotiations are underway, and it would be premature to talk about the outcome of those negotiations.
On the by the 30th, doesn't it? Or was it?
If the rumours are true, it carries big risks.
And the biggest of all being the condition of the ships when they finally arrive. We want these new ships to be brand new.
And as previously said, the vessel will be brought to Tasmania if a lease deal isn't done. The Supreme Court has sided with developers of the controversial Robbins Island wind farm, dismissing an appeal against a plan to build 120 turbines. The farm was initially approved with the condition it shut down for 5 months each year to protect the orange-bellied parrot. That condition was later removed by the Planning Tribunal, sparking the current appeal. There's still another hurdle, though, for the mega project, which is awaiting final sign-off by the Federal Environment Minister. That decision is due next Friday. Well, now to some news about us. This station will soon be under new management. Parent company Southern Cross Austereo has told the share market it will sell its remaining TV assets to Australian Digital Holdings. The media startup began online broadcasts in 2021, recently buying the Australian rights to American cable news service Newsmax. 7 Tasmania Nightly News, along with 10 Tasmania and channels in regional South Australia, Darwin and remote Central and Eastern Australia are a part of the deal. It's not yet known how the change will impact our viewers or employees, but the new owner says it's committed to regional employment and coverage of local issues. The mother of a baby shaken to death by her boyfriend is calling for new laws to enforce tougher penalties, saying she still carries a heavy burden. The Warrane man will be out of jail within 5 years after pleading guilty to manslaughter.
A grieving mother embraced by family as they continue to mourn their tragic loss, distraught and feeling defeated after a lengthy court sentencing.
Defeated. 6 years for my son's life. It's never enough. The charge never have been dropped to manslaughter.
Her son's life taken too soon at the hands of her former partner Daniel Ridges, who last year pleaded guilty to manslaughter in December 2023. Sentenced to 6 years in prison, with time served to be eligible for parole in 2 years' time.
I have no words. I'm broken. It's not fair.
Throughout the sentencing, the court has heard injuries caused to baby Kaylin included bruises and a brain injury. Justice Porter said it was a result of 26-year-old Ridges growing frustrated with how unsettled Kaylin was, saying he shook him several times before dropping him into his crib where he hit his head. He told police at the time he had a moment and just flipped. The court heard Mr Ridges suffers from ADHD and has sensitivity to loud noises, and elevated stress levels may have been a triggering factor. After a lengthy sentencing, Ms Butler says she still carries the burden, but hopes Kaylin's legacy will live on and spark change.
There needs to be more laws around shaking a baby, so that's my next step. I'm pushing for a Kaylin's law.
Baby Kaylin will forever be remembered as the light of her life.
Kaylin was the happiest, most beautiful baby you would ever meet. He lit up any room that he walked in with his cheeky grin.
Rebecca Gaidaneris at 7, Tasmania News.
Well, calls don't come much closer than this. An SUV overtaking two trucks across double lines approaching a bend on Frankfurt Road. The dash cam posted to social media shows a car just managing to return to the correct side before another truck passes in the opposite direction. Some victim survivors of child sexual abuse regret giving evidence to a Tasmanian inquiry that was set up to help them. That's according to support provider Laurel House, telling a parliamentary committee that some who spoke out believe recommendations from the inquiry aren't being actioned fast enough.
I'm regularly engaging with victim survivors who gave evidence at the Commission of Inquiry who regret having given evidence that it's not making a tangible difference yet in the lives of other children and young people.
The government says it's continuing to listen to those working on the front line and investing in children's safety. Ambulances are about to start rolling out of the state's newest superstation after years of delays and cost blowouts. It's a huge improvement on the current facility, but there are concerns there aren't enough paramedics to fill it.
Having well and truly outgrown their shared station with firefighters, Glenorchy paramedics getting a first look inside their new digs at the state's newest superstation.
This is worlds away, albeit just on the other side of the Brooker.
Boasting large new training and leisure spaces and an expansive garage able to store up to 18 ambulances.
There are better amenities for their everyday work, and that creates a more enjoyable work experience for them.
They do the most incredible work in the most difficult of circumstances, so they need facilities that enable them to do their job as best as they can.
Though it's been a bumpy ride to get to this point, the initial $6 million budget blowing out to more than 14 and arriving 3 years late.
It was delays because of COVID and construction costs.
Despite being large enough to house more paramedics on site, staff shortages mean the benefits won't be immediately felt.
While we got a new station, we didn't get any additional crews. We would have liked to see Hobart and Launceston get additional crews.
We want to see more paramedics, but it's pretty clear that the rhetoric at the election last year hasn't actually come to fruition.
The Health Minister is confident numbers are heading in the right direction.
We committed to an additional 78 paramedics as part of the election, and we've already 61 have come on board since April last year.
Anthony Dodd, 7 Tasmania News.
The future of the Tassie Devils AFL team could be in jeopardy if a crucial planning decision on Macquarie Point Stadium isn't finalised soon. It follows reports of growing angst among league presidents about delays to the controversial project.
We don't want to see the licence extended out any longer than it needs to be. We want to see a team for Tasmania. We want to see a stadium get started.
But the Premier is confident the Devils will be competing in 2028.
We will get the job done. We will ensure that the project comes to the Parliament as soon as possible.
Labor wants a decision on whether the stadium is given project of state significant status, which must come before Parliament by the end of June. Thousands of northern Tasmanian jobs could be cut, according to federal Labor, if opposition leader Peter Dutton's promised clean out of the public service goes ahead.
It is Launceston. You will know someone who will potentially lose their job if Peter Dutton gets in.
Those cuts aren't just going to be in Canberra, they're going to be across the country. And it's going to be regional communities like here in Launceston that feel it the worst.
Shadow Public Service Minister Jane Hume is hitting back at Mr Gorman's claims, saying it's fearmongering and a Dutton government will create a more efficient public service. Mystery continues to surround which members of State Parliament have had legal fees covered by up to $250,000 of taxpayers' money and for what reasons. That's in addition to Michael Ferguson, who also had more than $300,000 in private legal fees covered for legal action he started in late 2020.
We're not asking for all the legal details here, but the bare minimum of transparency.
The government says guidelines around the spending have been followed appropriately. Well, there won't be many bottoms on couches around Hobart this Sunday morning. A record number of runners will be leaving Ninja Stadium and tearing up the Tasman Bridge for 1, 5 and 10 kilometre races. Open to pros and amateurs, entries for the annual Run the Bridge are rising by about 150 a day.
Really pleased this morning we hit our previous record, so we've got 4,200 entered at the moment.
And it's not too late for participants wanting to join the tough slog. Entries don't close until 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon.
Tasmania's netball officials are hoping the inclusion of the Wilds at a major national tournament will be the stepping stone to something bigger. The team will participate with reserve sides and the Northern Territory and ACT in the lead up to the Super Netball Finals Series.
Shooting goals to play alongside Australia's best netball players. Tasmania Wild keen to showcase the talent available in the Apple Isle at a 3-day play-in tournament in June.
When I got the email this week, it was really exciting to see, considering last year that we weren't able to take part in the competition.
They'll take on the ACT and NT for a chance to play in the competition involving the reserve Super Netball teams. The sport's governing body hoping it'll lead to bigger things, the end goal inclusion in the flagship Super Netball tournament.
I'm really confident that I think it's definitely achievable. I think there's a lot of things that stack up about Tasmania and our passion for netball.
Citing the sport's growth in participation in the past few years and the success of the Jack Jumpers and the Canes, along with the arrival of the Devils.
That's a really strong indicator of the support for the game. We've got a fantastic stadium, we've got upgrades happening at Silverdome, so there's lots of positive things happening here.
For the time being, the focus now is to prepare our up-and-coming netballers for the big stage.
Really exciting to have that opportunity again for our young players to have that development pathway.
Mark Zita, 7 Tasmania News.
Sunday's Senior Talent Academy rep clash at Kingston's Twin Ovals will be something of a homecoming affair. The Tasmanian Devils men will take on Sandford powerhouse Norwood, a team packed with Tassie talent including Baden Lowe, Jackson Callow and Tom Donnelly. Meanwhile, 15 players will make their debut for the Devils, but some household names are also stacking the team.
We are a little bit younger, but we have got some familiar names in there as well, like, you know, Andrew Phillips and Brad Cox Goodyear and Sam Siggins.
The Redlegs women's squad will also have a Tassie flavour, with Candice Belbin hailing from the Apple Isle. And Cruz Hewitt's dream run continues, pulling off a major upset at the Launceston International. After losing the first set 6-3, the 16-year-old toppled 7th seed Dan Sweeney, winning the remaining 2 sets. He'll next face 2nd seed Chiu Shou in the quarterfinals.
Good evening, Hobart. 21 degrees today. Launceston warmed up to 26. It was 21 in Devonport and Burnie 22. Flinders Island and Ouse 26 today. Grove 24. Smithton reached 23. St Helens and Friendly Beaches a top of 22. King Island and Low Head 21. Lyawini and Strawn 19. A cool one overnight in Lyawini, a low of 1. It was a cloudy start for most of us today, but a lot of it cleared to be just patchy by this afternoon. The country also fairly clear, apart from the cloud over southwest WA and Victoria. Tropical cyclone Alfred has cloud off the Queensland coast. Tomorrow, a cold front pays us a visit. Troughs continue over the far north as the cyclone stays offshore. West-northwesterly winds will increase to 35 knots over southern waters and pretty strong right around the coastline and to 30 knots over the southwest lakes. So warnings are about: a gale warning for waters from Tasman Island to Low Rocky Point and a strong wind warning for remaining waters and the inland lakes. Forecast for tomorrow, the front will move through, maybe a couple of showers overnight, but partly cloudy tomorrow. Hobart 22, 21 for Huonville, Campania a top of 23. Launceston a high of 25 and partly cloudy, 23 the high for Devonport. Georgetown looking for 21 degrees. Burnie 22 and partly cloudy. Those showers early will ease later from Strawn, 19 the top and 23 for Wynyard. St Helens tomorrow a high of 26 degrees, a sunny day for Swansea, 26 as well, 22 for Port Arthur, a shower clearing. On Saturday, fine apart from showers in the west, possibly extending to the far south. A possible shower over the northeast on Sunday, otherwise fine with west-southwest winds, and partly cloudy on Monday, just the chance of a shower over the northeast. Sunny and warm in Perth and Adelaide, partly cloudy and 26 degrees in Melbourne, a hot day ahead in Canberra, 33 there, 31 for Sydney and Brisbane, and a shower over Darwin. And here we have the current conditions with the news that this TV station has been sold. Kim, I knew something was up when I came in tonight and the beer fridge was empty.
Oh, it's certainly a sign. Thanks, Murph. That is all your news for now. Good night, everyone.